Kelsey, are you planning on coming to my wedding? Although you happen to be Andy's older sister, I hear that you are a middle school graduate that plans on coming to my wedding. All the other guests will be surprised to see you there, I assume. I mean, it is expected that everyone that shows has some form of education, or at least a job worth working.
Fern, how are you doing? It's been so long since the last time you and I talked to one another. What are you trying to say to me right now?
I shouldn't have to explain myself for you to understand what this is all about, right? I know for a fact that your little brother is a doctor, and you know that very well.
Yes, I am very aware of that, in fact.
Hearing that a doctor's older sister never even made it past high school? That is very hard for me to believe, even coming from the man I love. If that's really the case, though, then that must mean you are pretty much useless at everything, correct? Right now, I am really wondering why someone as skilled as Andy had to end up with such a waste of space as you, Kelsey.
Are you making all those claims about me only based off the fact that I only graduated out of middle school? When you had met with me previously, was that the same way you judged me then?
I could see that you looked very nice in that fine dress you had on. But when your mother was going to explain your situation to all of us, Andy stopped her and told her to keep it quiet, right? That's when I knew that something very fishy was going on. I could tell that you were the one in the family that everyone sees as taboo and most likely don't like very much.
So that's how you came to saying such unfortunate things about me. Well, you were very mistaken then. You just happen to have a misunderstanding of me and what I do as well as of my past then. I believe my brother was just being kind and making that whole meeting about you guys and not about me by having my mom shut up.
Well, I'm sure people could say it like that as well then. Andy knows that you're an embarrassment to your family, and that's why he restrained your mother from talking any further about you. I get that you guys are all trying to hide the truth from us.
Fern, I'm sorry to say this, but you are very much wrong about that. That was not Andy's plan whatsoever when stopping my mom.
You poor, poor thing. Not only do you have such a terrible education, but not even your parents spent any time raising you into a proper adult.
Excuse me?
What I'm saying is true, right? You never graduated high school, after all. I understand your family tried their best to cover up what a stain you are on your family's image by dressing you up in such a nice dress. But I could tell the moment I saw you that it was all a hoax.
Are you sure about that?
When you become someone of my status, it's pretty easy to tell the truth from the lies. I work with things like flowers all the time as an expert florist, so I have a very well-trained eye for all sorts of things. The way you act is even a bit rough.
I can see that.
If you are planning on coming to our wedding, then I'd really enjoy it if you took some classes in becoming a responsible adult and learn how to have manners. If you're not able to do that for me, then you won't only be causing a lot of embarrassment for your brother Andy, but for his bride as well.
I would like to ask you this just out of my own curiosity. But what school did you end up studying at and graduating from to become such an expert florist as yourself?
Huh? And why would you like to know such a thing as that?
Is it wrong of me to ask?
Even if I told you where I studied, someone like you would never be able to understand its importance. I'm surprised you were even able to ask me what school I've gone to with such confidence as that.
Well, I'd really like to know where you've went before your wedding. You say that you are an expert florist and a teacher now at that. That must mean you'll be arranging your own flowers to decorate the wedding, correct?
I teach things like making bouquets and things like that. But I'm also able to teach things like flower arranging for weddings and funerals. I happen to be from a school that's taught me all of that, so not only can I perform, but I can teach as well. So if you're trying to ask me to help teach you anything about it, I'm afraid it's all too high level for someone who couldn't even make it out of high school. Perhaps you should try taking after your brother first, instead of asking me such brainless questions.
Well, that didn't quite answer my question, but I'll be looking forward to hearing more from you at the wedding. And I hope on that day you'll be willing to tell me what school you went to.
How's it going, Miss Never Graduated from High School? Have you finally been able to recognize the large gap in status between you and I?
You really have arranged all these flowers here well.
You're able to see just how amazing of a person and florist I am, right?
To be honest with you, I don't see one bit of what you're talking about.
I guess even this is too hard for someone with no education or upbringing to understand, huh? Come on now, do you want to give it a try?
You're asking me to?
You can go ahead and try arranging some flowers. I'm feeling confident about you. I happen to have a lot of flowers left over that you can work with.
I might end up making you look bad, but is that all right?
What?
Do you really think the way you have all these flowers set up is the right way to display them for your own wedding?
What are you talking about, Kelsey? I was able to do all of the arranging by myself, and that's made my marriage to Andy even more exciting today. I knew that something like flower arranging would be too much for someone who couldn't make it out of high school, nor was ever even raised properly by her parents.
Then I suppose I will have to arrange some flowers for you today.
Really? I'd like to see you try.
Well then, allow me to put all my knowledge and skill into making up some very beautiful pieces for your wedding today.
What the heck is that? What is the meaning of all this? Why were you able to make such a beautiful and outstanding arrangement of flowers?
I just happened to use the skills I had to make up that arrangement for you. Of course, these are skills I learned while studying flower arranging in Japan at the Royal Palace there.
What? Royal Palace? In Japan?
I seem to have found that large gap you were talking about before, Fern. How does it feel knowing about it now, too? Has this completely ruined your mental state, making you want to quit your job as a so-called expert florist?
What are you on about? Tell me right now! What do you mean you got to study doing flower arrangements at the Royal Palace in Japan?
I happen to be a professional florist. And, as such, I was invited to Japan to study at the Royal Palace there in a 3-month course learning all the different techniques they use over there. And the reason that my brother stopped my mom from ever telling you any of this before was to stop her from ruining your pride.
Huh? Ruining my pride? Why?
Because, unlike you, who is just a florist and a teacher of flower arranging, I am a professional in the field. And had you learned that I'm a very famous flower arranger, you might have taken that personally and lost confidence in yourself. So, based on timing and things like that, I was going to wait to tell you about myself another day.
So, you guys hid all of that about yourself for my sake?
I told you that already, right? My family wasn't going to just go all in on making you feel like you're worthless compared to me. We happen to really care about how you feel and wanted to make sure we did everything we could to make you happy.
But I was told you never graduated from high school. And that's why I just assumed you were some lowlife with no education. I don't get what's going on here. Telling me that you're a professional florist and things like that aren't making things easy for me. If anything, your saving all that until now has really caused me to freak out.
After I'd moved from middle school to high school, I found out during an art expo that there was such a thing as flower arranging. I tried it out and found that I really loved the art and wanted to make a career with it, but didn't know how. When I asked the lady running the expo about it, she told me a lot of times professionals will travel the world learning all about the art of arranging. So during my second year of high school, I went and studied abroad in places like France and Italy, learning about flower arranging from the pros. I ended up staying out of the US for longer and longer, and when I finally felt I'd learned enough to make a career out of it, I moved back and by that point didn't return to high school, but instead got my GED. And after starting my work and making a name for myself, I was invited to the Royal Palace in Japan, where I learned even more about flower arranging and their ways.
What? That's what happened?
Just know that I have my GED, so it's not like I didn't technically graduate from high school.
So you're telling me you never did drop out of high school or anything like that?
Well, not like your average dropout anyway. Now, can we start looking forward to this wedding of yours?
How am I supposed to look forward to my wedding today after what you've done? I get that this is supposed to be my special day, but because you had to show off with your flower arranging, everyone's going to think I'm a joke. I'll lose everyone's respect in me and become a complete failure. At this point, there's no point in going on like this and having a wedding.
I understand that this might all be hard for you, but it's still the day of your wedding. I think you should stand back up and give it all you've got to make this day special for you and my brother.
Everyone that I teach is here at this wedding today. And right now, they're all starting to talk about having you as a teacher.
You can relax when it comes to that. It isn't often that I take in students under my wing, and it's very hard for me to even accept anyone. I don't even feel as though me teaching them at the stages they're all at would do them any good. Also, I don't have the time to teach anyone at the moment, as there is too much going on in my life.
Are you trying to say I have all the time in the world to teach them?
I'm not saying that in a bad way, Fern. It just happens to be that you are a teacher, so it's part of your job. So please don't get the wrong idea from what I've said.
I am not going to forgive you for all of this.
I'm really not sure why you are so upset with me over what's happened today, but you are supposed to be the bride today, correct? You had only asked me to take a try at arranging some flowers, and that's why I did so. If anything, I'm thankful that the bride asked me to do some of the arrangements for her wedding today. So please, stop trying to blame me for yourself being upset when you know it's not me who asked you to do all of this.
Well, even if I asked you to do all of that, I am not okay with what you've done.
Fern, can you please stop acting like a child right now? Can you please place away your hard feelings towards me and just enjoy your wedding today with my brother?
Why would this happen to me? What have you done? This is all your fault, Kelsey.
Hold on, what are you talking about now, Fern? It seems you happened to become a little too jealous of my abilities and ended up hurting yourself in the process of getting back at me? You tried to come up from behind me and push me into your wedding cake, only for me to move out of the way last second as you sent yourself into it. You made all your guests laugh a lot after that one. I never did anything to provoke what you did, so this is all on you, correct?
The wedding has been canceled, all right? Why are you doing all of this to me?
And why do you keep acting like I'm the one doing all of this to you? It just happens that my brother, my family, and yours, and all of your students that you invited are fed up with your childish behavior. And now the wedding is over because of that, right? What do you want me to do about this? I'm going to be honest that I can't do anything to help you out of the mess you've got yourself into now.
If you had never done something as needless as make those beautiful arrangements, then I could have given a wonderful wedding to all my guests as a happy bride.
It's all over now, Fern. So I think it's a better time than any for you to calm down a bit and think everything you're saying over.
I don't care about calming down right now. If you had never showed off in front of me and all the guests, I wouldn't have had to freak out and come after you. But you went ahead and made such a perfect set of arrangements today.
And I told you already that it's my job to make things perfect as I'm a professional and am paid to be. And this time, I really should have asked for some form of pay after all the work I put into those arrangements for you. But it's my brother's wedding as well, so I thought it'd be okay to provide that service to you all for free. Really, you just happened to not be as good as you thought you were, and so my flowers shined against yours. So please stop getting upset with me for doing what I've trained so many years to do. And I want to ask you to please stop teaching your students your form of flower arranging, as it's not good and they'll never be able to make money with it.
I don't give a crap about the flowers anymore.
And you call yourself a flower arrangement teacher? Shame on you, Fern.
You know dang well that the wedding was the most important thing to me today. I'm sure that with the way things turned out, Andy is going to want a divorce now. It's all because of you that my whole wedding and marriage has been ruined.
Fern, have you still not realized anything yet?
Still not realizing anything? What are you talking about?
The only one that's to blame for all of this happening to you isn't someone like me or my family, but yourself.
Huh? What do you want to say to me?
I was trying to make that very clear to you just a bit ago. You tried so hard to make yourself look good in front of me by gambling on me being bad at flower arranging. But after you realized that I was no joke and far more competent than you at this job, you fell short and began to freak out at the embarrassment of having all your students look up to me. And you have to realize that in doing all of that, you actually really embarrassed my brother as well, right?
I didn't mean for any of...
Even if you didn't mean to try and embarrass me and make me feel bad about myself, what's happened today is all because of your actions. Do you understand that?
I don't understand a thing about this. The fact that my wedding had to end up being canceled like this?
My brother had every right to ask for the wedding to be canceled after what you did to embarrass yourselves. You were trying to push me into the cake, but ended up falling into it instead. Your face wasn't only covered in loads of frosting, but your dress and everything was ruined and in tatters, right? Can't you see that by not canceling the wedding, things would have only gotten worse for you? I think Andy made the right choice here in having the wedding canceled. Now you should take from this that you have to stop acting like a spoiled brat and move on with your life.
You shouldn't have to say things like that about me. My heart is already broken, and you're going to call me a spoiled brat?
Also, I understand that you think highly of yourself for being a so-called expert florist and teacher, but you don't have any of the necessary requirements to be a teacher in that art, right? I believe you really need to find a new job for yourself, as you are no teacher, and if anything, you're a scam to all your students. So please stop calling yourself an expert in things like that for me. Your way of arranging is not good, and I wouldn't even put it as being standard level. I think that if you really want to go into this profession, you should start by learning from a professional.
But to become a professional would require me to spend money. What's wrong with me making a little money teaching students with how to do flower arranging my way?
What you are doing is not okay, as it's just another scam. And I've already explained this to my brother so that he can think on it.
What? Why would you do something like that to me?
I'm just trying to stop someone like you from posing as an expert and ruining the image of us real professionals. And can you stop saying you went to school for any of this? I told my brother to make sure you find something else to do besides working in flower arranging. So, you can have a word with him now about how things are going to go for you.
Kelsey, please. Can you please just forget about all this and go back to us both being kind sister-in-laws? I have finally been able to marry a doctor like Andy, and today was supposed to be the perfect day for me. I was having so much fun with everyone being so jealous of me, ending up in the perfect situation. Why did this have to happen to someone like me?
I'm not sure why, but I'm going to say no to that.
Why are you saying no? I'm asking you to please come back and be my sister-in-law.
Even if you ask me in the nicest way possible, I can already tell you haven't learned anything from today and you only want to make yourself feel good. Now good luck fixing that whole mess on your own. I'm sure things from here on out will be tough for you, but I think you should start by finding a new occupation besides working with flowers. Now, best of luck to you when you have that conversation with Andy. I'll be wishing for a future where I'll never have to run into someone like you again. In the end, the wedding was officially canceled and never was able to be finished. And as Kelsey was hoping for, there was never a moment after that day where her and Fern ever ran into one another again. Andy ended up learning a terrible amount about his wife and decided that it would be better to divorce her than sit around and wait for her to learn her lessons. And so, he told her that he no longer loved her and would be divorcing her. He wasn't going to ask her for anything in the divorce, as he already knew she didn't have much. But the one condition he stated was that she could never come around him or his family again after she was out of his house. Fern's parents also ended up giving up on her after her actions, and were not willing to listen to her complain and ask for help after she was divorced by Andy. And it wasn't just her parents either, but pretty much every person she knew showed no sympathy to her and didn't lend a helping hand. And as she sat there for months in her flower shop waiting for people to show up for months on end, she began to realize that there was no use in her being a so-called florist anymore, so she had to sell the shop and move away. She lost a lot of money not having any students or customers come in those months, and even selling the place didn't get her enough to break even on it. So when she moved away, she had to put herself into a very rundown apartment with not a lot of foot traffic in the area to keep the rent down, which in turn left her with few options for work. But anything would be better than her being a scam to all her students and paying customers. She was surely asking for it when she tried to play games and embarrass someone like Kelsey. But such heartless games as that will only end oneself in a worse place than they started. And as you can see right here, Fern ended up as the embarrassed one, with Kelsey coming out on top.